Okay, this talk is going to be a challenge for several reasons. First, because I just can see here people who speak in Spanish, and yet I have to speak in English, which is complicated. It's James. Cool. Second, because I was not going to give the talk. I was talking with Steph 1 month ago. I said, yes, your talk is cool, but I always feel that there is a side more technically that is missing, because probably people wants to know why we do what we do, and I find that a little bit missing in the general view of Pharo. And he said, okay, just do it. And here I am, lombardizado in a task. And the third challenge is that I'm going to try to give a technical talk without a single demo and a single line of code screenshot there. So I will try to explain each one of the points by myself. So let's start there. This is me, for those who doesn't know me. They say that I'm part of the Pharo core team, and that's not completely true, because we don't have something that we call a core team. But what that means is that I'm being paid for doing Pharo since 1.5 years, so I have a little bit more responsibility than the rest of the community. But I'm doing my best. So, if you remember, this was the vision that was published when Pharo started in 2008, something like that. It was going to be a clean, small talk, modern, incorporating innovative approach, and it was going to be maintained, but not necessarily backward compatible. In fact, the original said not backward compatible. But okay, time has shown that it's not so easy not being backward compatible that we were expecting at the moment. Since then, we did a lot of things as a community. This is just a small shot of what we already done, and there is a lot of more things. But if you see each one of them by separate, each could feel like just a bunch of random changes that applies to the image, because precisely it's not clear if you take one by one what's the general path that we are following. So it's not. The thing is that we took a system that was created in 95 using ideas of 81, which of course we can all agree that they were cool ideas, but a little bit aged. And starting from that, there start to be a lot of patch, over-patch, and at the end, the system was not clean, was not cool, and had a lot of things. So we don't believe that there is such thing as a small change. For us, even adding a comment in a method is important, because it's in the general view that you end having a healthy system. When you updated 1,000 comments, then it's not anymore a small change. Then it's a well-documented system. So, and we believe that it's doing one small step at a time is how you actually create real revolutionary changes. Otherwise, you are once and again starting over, and when you get there, it's already old, so you have to throw it away and then start over again, and that finally you never have something that actually works. So, but that also contradicts with something that people used to say, which is, if it is not broke, do not fix it. But the problem is that doesn't work, because patch stacking techniques works fine for a while, but in a moment, at the end, you have something that is completely unusable. And if you have a clear example, look at Morphic. Morphic, it's a really, really good idea in Self, implemented in Self. Then it was ported to Squeak because it was really cool. But in Squeak already came with some dirtiness, because since Self is prototype oriented, adding traits is complete easy, but not in Smalltalk because it's class oriented. So what it borns? The morph extension class. Why? Because a morph is infinite big, and then if you every dot that you put in the screen has the morphic extension, what now resides in morphic extensions, the image becomes unusable. So then you have a decision made not by design, but not by the pureness of the design, but for reality constraints that start to create the mess that now is Morphic. Morphic, I think just Ben can understand Morphic, no? And because he has spent his last 2 or 3 years dealing with it, maybe Gary too, but it's a mess. And also, since a lot of people intervene there is no clear vision. So you have overlap functionality, you have a lot. That's the kind of thing that we deal, and we try to correct. For that, we have 2 approaches. One is continue patching, but at least incorporate a vision of where we can go. That's what we are doing a little bit on Morphic. Honestly, I disagree. I think we have to throw away and do it again. And in fact, I know a couple of people that already started. The problem is that it is a bestialic work. It's infinite, so it will not be ready anytime soon. So we continue enhancing Morphic in the meantime. And also, we replace completely certain package when we believe that is necessary, and we actually can in a reasonable amount of time. The obvious motivation is to enhance the design and also allow further development. For example, I'm going to take some examples to talk. I cannot talk of everything, but since our package is my Kobayashi Maru personal, it's my nemesis. I can speak a lot because I battled with it since 1.5 years, since I arrived to the team. Our package means real packages. Why is real packages? Because before our package, what you have in the system to organize classes is a lot of strings and arrays of strings. And sometimes not even dictionaries or collections. Arrays that you copy from 1 to 5. You have to do a scan to see where it starts, where it ends. It's a complete mess. Why? I think the first categorizer was invented before implementing collection, when it was in Smalltalk 80. So they took the same implementation, and then you don't have collection operations. You have array scans for implemented. That was the first. That's the class organizer, which is all class organizer, which is system categories. Obviously, if you have strings and not objects, you cannot actually do object-oriented programming. Now you end doing a lot of stupid stuff because you need a system that works, like, for example, package extensions. If you see, when you add method extensions, when you want to add a method extension, you have to put a category which is the same of the name of the package that you want to declare it, and add an asterisk. Why? Because it's a symbol. It's not an object. It's a string. And if you want to if you want to incorporate that functionality to the string, then you have to add methods to string, which are not from string, are from packages. So well, like 2 years ago, started to do our package, and he passed me the effort when I arrived, and we incorporated it in 2.0, but with several limitations. Why? Because replacing it was not easy. In fact, we spent 2 months, Guille helps a lot, trying to incorporate it, as it was the general idea of incorporate, and that was the reason why Pharo 2 Alpha was not working in ESUG last year, and everybody was coming and complaining, but it was completely unusable during 1 week, which was exactly in ESUG. Punteria. No, but, okay. But well, package info, which was the first abstraction that they tried to do that. In fact, what it does is a system scanner of strings to group the resulting into something more or less usable. And guess what? Inside a class, you also have organization for methods, which are what? Symbols. Again, you cannot do anything. So even if they are not complete part of the same effort, our package, I always group the new class organizer inside, because it's spreading the same idea into the full system. Now you have real packages which can be tagged. What is it? Yeah, okay. Real package which can be tagged, which means that you can think in different ways of categorization or organize your own system. The green ones are already implemented, and that is just something that will be later. But you could have not just the system categories that you have now, but group your packages in different ways, in different complete orthogonal ways, and then you can enhance your views. You can also think on having multi-protocols, composite protocols to categorize a method, like stop having private space accessing methods. You can have private and you can have accessing methods, no? And you can add more than one. That's still not implemented, but we put, during 1.5 years, we put all the infrastructure there. No? As you can see, this is what we do. You will see in the rest of the examples too. This is exactly what we do. We take something, we enhance it, but what we actually are doing it is thinking in. Now we are thinking in Pharo 4. We are implementing Pharo 3 for the things that we want to add in Pharo 4. No, it's already a lot better, but it will be a lot better in 4. And time to time we do what we call game changers, even if there is some argument if an enhancement to Smalltalk can be a game changer. I think yes, for several reasons. Native Boost, I'm going to talk about all of them separate. But Native Boost is probably the most known so far, and I will say it at the last. One of the things that we were doing this year, Gisela worked a lot. Gisela is giving a talk in the other room. Gisela working that we have a lot of duplicated or triplicated or tetraplicated stuff in Pharo that we are trying to keep just one. For example, the old compiler was using his own version of AST, and refactoring browser was using his own. And if you load some other package, it loads other stuff. But well, that's not core, so we don't have to talk about. So the first thing that we did is to unify that into just one. The RB, the refactoring browser one, was cool, so we took that, and that is the AST that Opal uses too now. So we have just one syntactic tree that can be used to do tools and to use the compiler. Okay. If that's not a game changer, there is not, because there is no one, because at least you have the two levels, the low level compilation and the tool building in the same. Opal, which is the compiler that Marcus and company are doing, is a complete reification of the old compiler. The old compiler was two classes: parser, which extends of scanner, which extends of byte array or string, something like that, and compiler. So imagine that. I don't remember the number of lines of code inside just one class of the methods, but there were not many methods because methods were really big. Cool, really object-oriented. So this was a 3 years work. We are talking of something that just now is there, but it's a lot of work because it's not easy. And the other one, it was working. But so you all participate in the list, so you all remember all the mails saying, okay, why you want to change something that is working? Because now we can do a lot of stuff there. First, we can do. That's the next slide. Sorry. We can do a lot of small, tiny optimizations, like, for example, safe blocks, implement safe blocks. Clean blocks, sorry. That implement clean blocks. No? Okay, that just works in a part of the system, but that already gave us around 5% of speed up inside Pharo. Just one. No? We can do inlinings. We can do a lot of things. Since we have an AS3 that we can operate using a visitor pattern also, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever analysis you want to transform that. Also, reflectivity, which was the PhD thesis of Marcus, is about change the AST in runtime, which allows to do something that I cannot understand that doesn't exist before, which is putting a breakpoint in a place instead writing self-halt. No, and in the place that you want. Of course, it allows a lot of other stuff like aspect-oriented programming, blah. But okay. But the idea is that using a single visitor pattern, you can now change how the compiler works completely. And also, it's not true that is Opal stuff, the new class layouts and slot, but is allowed by the fact that now we have a cool compiler. So far, an inst var is also a string in a class. When you declare a class, you have inst vars, x, y, z, whatever, and it's a string. And you have to scan it to take the symbols, which are going to be symbols. No? So having reflection with that is okay. The small talk reflection, we all know that it's incredibly powerful. But operate with symbols is not object-oriented programming. So now we have class layouts. You can say the type of a class if it's a variable. Instead being a flag, it was a number before. Now it's a real class where you can add metadata, do a lot of stuff. And we have slots. Slots is not just for defining inst vars. Okay, that's the first and actual use. That's what is inside the system now. But in Pharo 4, we are going to add property slots. So instead of having 250 variables declared, you can have one slot, which is a property which in the compiler will be translated to accessing properties without any loss of speed, because it's a compiler translation. You are declaring that it's like certain kind of typing, but it's not typing. But if you want, you could create your integer slot and start programming Java. But okay, but that's not the idea. The idea is to be able to have a lot of enhancements in the level of the utilization the usage of the class. Other possibilities have bit slots to do the low-level stuff. Instead, having to do bit left, bit right, you can create a slot that already positions that in the place, in the right place, and takes the value from the right place, for example. That kind of stuff, you can do it. And that's why I think that's a game changer. Other game changer is the new debugger. Again, the old debugger was one class. Now we have the work of yes, Andre in Bern, which is a complete reification of the debuggers with different in which one you can plug different approach of debugging. That's the concept of moldable debuggers. Instead of having just one debugger in one class, you have an abstract debugger, and you plug how you want to behave. For example, you can have special debuggers for following announcements, which is always a pain in the ass. You can have debuggers for following what happens in a thread, or anything. And lateral to that, but part of the same effort, is what we call pluggable inspectors, which is instead of having just one inspector that shows you a list of stuff, you can show what is interesting depending on the kind of object that you have. For example, if you are inspecting a morph, you can have a panel with the morph draw too, not just the values of the variables, but also the image that it will be displayed. The collections have something different. You can have petit parser can be inspected, showing the tree, the parse tree that it generates, and all of that is almost working. But the petit parser is not incorporated because we are not incorporating yet petit parser to the core. Marcus wants to use petit parser to compile Pharo, so if that happens, then we will have petit parser, and then probably we will have 5 minutes. Okay. And then we will have. That's all. So, object spaces. This is highly experimental stuff, but I wanted to talk with it because I found it very promising. It's the Gish Polito in the other room, PhD theme, but the idea is that you can have different spaces inside an image. It has a lot of complexity, which I'm not going to work because I have 5 minutes less. I'm not going to talk, but the idea is that you can have, you can use that later. It's going to be a long trip, but for having things like a Pharo running inside your Pharo, so you could have your development environment and in fact being editing a different environment, so your production environment will not be polluted with development tools. You can control remote images, maybe in a mix with some other PhD work of Nick Papulias, which is seamless, which allows a lot of that. And something that is already working, which was the thing that won in ESU, was the tools for image recovery, for image repair and inspect, because since you can actually inspect an image from another image, you can work on it and modify it and recover a lost image, which is something that is important in part of the stability stuff that Hernan demanded before. Okay, finally, native boost. Why is important? Everybody usually thinks that native boost is yet another FFI, and it's not. It's a dynamic code generation. It creates assembly, and of course, one of his applications is doing FFI. Other is doing Athens. The third one is the interesting one. It's a virtual machine made in Smalltalk and translated to assembly in runtime and controlled. In the previous talk, Steph says that fields say, okay, I like Pharo because I can control the full stack from the VM to top. Bad, that's bad. What we want is that you can control even the VM from Pharo. And that's the long way vision for what they are doing now. And of course, the other important stuff that you can do with that is, and is part of our vision too, is moving the most that you can into the image. Give the power to the people. Give the control to the person that uses Smalltalk and not the few of us that can handle C or even assembly. Of course, it has limitations, but most of the plugins that we have could actually live in the image and without loss of speed. So Athens I will not talk because I am out of time, but it's cool, believe me. One important thing with Athens is that we started in the right moment, because with the Retina displays and that, the old viewability plugin doesn't scale at all. So we need something that can be work, that can work anyway. And well, an important part, this is not actually technical, but since the process is technical, I wanted to talk about that. We spend a lot of time doing this. We have now installations. We have now an installation process that is just one line in the command line. We have automatization tools using Metacello, and we have the infrastructure that is there for all of you to use. It's public and it's free. Yes, I know. And we are working in the Bootstrap because the idea is that a program that you cannot reconstruct from scratch is not really well maintainable. Even if that's an idea that is not really good, that doesn't work well with Smalltalk, because Smalltalk always works by mitosis. They replicate the next image in the next image. The thing is that you need to rebuild from scratch. Otherwise, a program is not really maintainable. And well, we are working on that, and I'm out of time, but download the latest Pharo. Is cool, but it's just a part of what we are doing as an intermediate. Pharo 4 will be a lot cooler. And we are working also a lot in trying, again, it's not technical, but I wanted to talk because it's important. We have a problem, which is sometimes we are too concentrated on what happens in the team in Lille. So we are working hard to make Pharo much more open to the community, and now we are trying to organize remote sessions all the time and trying to work with everything, and we are welcoming. So you are invited to participate, because Pharo is yours, which is the slogan of this talk for us. And we really would like you to participate in this grand vision. And finally, just 10 seconds. This is my vision for Pharo, which is more or less the vision of Marcus and more or less the vision of Steph. But okay, not because they disagree, but because they want even more. Imagine that you can interact with the world seamless, without any pain. That you can actually go to a low level. And imagine that you do not have a changes file that is a mix of changes, sources, and nobody knows what. It's just a transaction log, so your sources are contained in the image and are disposable when you want to go to production. And this is the cool part. Imagine that you can do this and work with this. Or even better, you can do that and go cloud. That's object spaces work. That's the vision of Flip. Thank you very much. Yes, we are going to do a sprint in the 7th in Capital, but most of people is for Capital, I hope. No. anyway. We are going to organize hangout sessions, which are remote sprints. And I don't know what more.
This evening
we can talk. Okay. Any questions?
Have you implemented some optimization at the level of bytecode? Having verified all the stuff and so on, besides adding a breakpoint?
Yes, the trick is that bytecodes is the last part. We have an intermediate representation. Most of the optimizations actually happens in the intermediate representation. Because once you have bytecodes, it's really linear, so it's really hard. But intermediate representation is more or less like bytecodes, but AST. So you can do a lot of transformations there. That's the thing. I don't know if it's enough.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, now I mentioned a bit more geeky question. Right? I'm quite interested about the breakpoints of what we were talking about, because I'm personally fighting breakpoints for quite some time. Right? So I can perfectly well imagine that you somehow augment the AST, and during the compilation phase you basically insert the source code into the code. That's not a big problem. But how do you want to deal with the situation that you have a breakpoint, you are in the debugger, there is a cheated code from the code compiler, which is running, so the debugger is in the middle, or the VM is in the middle of the cheated code, and you want to add the debugger to the same method. How would you do that? Are you planning to do some dynamic optimization things to make this work?
But if I understood what you're saying, that's VM level stuff. You have to insert the save points there to be able to take the execution. I think they are already there, but we are not using it well. But you have save points.
The save points are there.
Yes.
How to map these breakpoints to the save points?
I don't know, Marcos stuff. No, I'm sorry, I cannot answer because it's hard and it's Marcos' specialty. And
you have to be optimized the code. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
well.
The question is, are you then going to write the optimizer for code? Because I don't think Elliot is going to do it, as far as I know. No, but because I would be quite interested in the code. So we will see what Clément is doing for Mate, because Mate is not code, so we will see.
Yes. Yeah, it's tricky. But any other question?
Yes.
Yes.
Our packages.
Yes.
Since when are they in the VM?
Are in the image?
Sorry, in the image.
They are in Pharo 2, but half of it. They are there completely since 2 weeks ago. I finished the implementation 2 weeks ago, so it's in the latest builds.
And what about Pharo 3.0 alpha? Because
yes.
I've seen it, and at least what I got to see was that the visual representation of the packages changed a bit. So I don't know if the...
Yes, it's a consequence of that. Because now we can have actual trees in Nautilus, which is a cool consequence of. Okay, thank you very much.